welcome to another episode of EFT Changes Lives. And my name is Mary Jane Sharratt. I am an EFT trainer and practitioner. And today I am delighted to welcome Saffron de Menezes. Hello, Saffron.
Hello.
Saffron is an advanced practitioner in the northeast of England, I think, aren't you, Saffron?
I
Yeah.
am, yes.
Fantastic. And she is specializing in working with empowering women, and especially women who have come out of really challenging relationships, perhaps where there's been domestic violence or other challenges. So, Saffron, a big warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Can't wait to hear more about your work as well. But before you tell us about that, can you tell us how you discovered EFT? What was the journey to bring you to it, and how that's progressed for you?
Yeah, so I've always had quite a different way of approaching things, quite an alternative perspective. And when my daughter was born, there were lots of toddler groups around that didn't really appeal to me. But I really wanted community. That's another thing that's always been very important to me. So I started a natural parenting group and I made some really close friends through that. And one of those friends introduced me to the tapping solution and the Tapping World Summit, which is, you'll know, Nick and Jessica Ortner, and
Yeah.
they do some fantastic work. So that was how I got started with it. And then they say on the Tapping World Summit, which is like lots of interviews over the course of a couple of weeks, just do all of them, even if they don't appeal. And I can remember there was one about eyesight. And I thought, well, my eyesight's always been fine. I don't need to do that. But I'll do it anyway because they keep saying do all of them and just see what happens. And I noticed everything like sharpening up. Like
Wow.
my eyesight had been fine, but everything was sharpening. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So that was one of my early experiences. And I had, should I say, a couple of others?
Go on. Yeah, it's so great, isn't it? When we have that, we think, oh, yeah, nonsense, a bit of tapping. How's that going to change my eyesight? But yeah, that's a great example. Go on, tell me some others, some other
It was great.
news.
And I think I still have that now. Like, wow, it's worked.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I used to go to a trampolining class and there was something that I couldn't do in the class. And I remember getting off the trampoline, doing some tapping and getting back on and I could do it straight away. And that was brilliant. And I also had like the classic woken up with a headache and tap that away. And that's
Fantastic, isn't
so
it?
lovely, isn't it? Not to have to take anything for a headache and just be able to tap it away.
Absolutely. And sometimes I've been in a yoga class and we've been holding a posture that's like really quite challenging. And I just tap on my fingers. I just do one-handed tapping like this and just breathe through it. And suddenly everything just goes, oh, it's okay. You can hold this. It really makes such a difference. It's amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing because you don't associate situations like that with stress or
No.
any sort of nervous system response. But when you do the tapping, it really does help you to be able to do things.
Yeah, it really does. And I always say to people, if there's an unwanted emotion, anything uncomfortable, something to tap on, isn't there?
Yeah.
So I think that's so interesting. And I've recently done, it might be the same person. So Carol Look has done, I
Mm.
think it's an 8 or 9 week eyesight tapping sequence. You tap on the same thing every day for a week, excuse me,
Okay.
and then just move on. So I did that recently, and my eyesight isn't perfect, but it has got a lot of decades of history. But what I've noticed is that I don't need reading glasses nearly as much.
Wow. It's incredible. I think eyesight is one of those things where you really think, wow, because
Yeah,
seems so unlikely, doesn't it? But yeah,
exactly.
it might
And
have been Carol Look, actually. I can't remember who did the interview, but it
yeah,
may
maybe.
have.
Yeah, because she's done
Yeah.
quite a lot of studies on it. But yes, it's one of those things, isn't it? You think, well, it just is what it is. I'm just getting older. I just have to wear glasses. But I
And
think,
it's all of those stories as well, isn't it, that we tell ourselves. And as I'm getting older and sort of approaching menopause age myself and everything, all of the things that people say to you, I feel really aware of, oh, well, it's all downhill from here and that's getting older. And
yeah.
I think you could probably tap every day on getting all of that out of you because it's coming in all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. All the beliefs that we're just fed by society, the media, our friends, our family. Yeah, absolutely. I have an ongoing battle with my partner about he's saying, well, of course I've got stiff joints. I'm getting older. It's like, no, no, that's just a belief. You don't need to believe. And
Yeah.
every time I see a story about some 85-year-old summiting Everest or something, I show him and say, look, it doesn't have to be age.
Sounds very familiar.
So Saffron, we digress, but it's fun. Tell me about your work with women and empowering women and how that began for you and what form that takes.
Yeah, so that tends to be one-to-one sessions. So I do one-to-one sessions, and I also do a monthly women's circle, which is a really lovely thing to come to if you feel like, oh, I've not really got anything to work on at the moment, but it's back to that feeling of community again, and being in a group of women is so powerful. And for me, kind of coming at the idea of having been in a difficult relationship and all of the, again, we form beliefs as part of that.
Mm.
Um, and that was an experience that I'd had myself, and I did quite a lot of tapping around that. And it was something that I just really wanted to support people with. And I'm just often so overwhelmed by the courage and the bravery of the women that like come to me that are willing to look at that and work through that, and then the freedom that's on the other side of that.
Yeah,
And
even
often
that making that decision just to book that first call, that first session, it takes enormous courage, doesn't it?
it absolutely does. Yeah, yeah, it's incredible. And but there's so much. I mean, it can be such an in-depth kind of challenging experience to go through working on that. And you know, as you'll know, I don't sort of take people right into the memory. We do it in very gentle and approachable ways that make it easier for people. But yeah, there's so much the joy that's on the other side of it, the freedom, the confidence is, yeah, it makes it very much worth it because you kind of have that option to go, well, that's in the past, I'm just going to ignore it, that's over there, blah, 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 and just try and get on with things. And often that's when health deteriorates and it sort of starts becoming a physical condition. Or you can go, okay, I'm going to look at that, I'm going to go through it and out the other side. And then, yeah, life is so much better. So it's kind of this prolonged low level agony, or the brief intense. And I think even when you're going through that sort of brief intense part of doing the work, it feels right in your body, and it can be tiring. But I often, like, I tell my clients to really really go for the self-nurturing while we're in that phase, you know, resting as much as you can, getting outside, drinking lots of water, all of the things that we know we need.
Yeah, because coming out of a challenging relationship, you know, your nervous system needs to regulate and reset, and rest is a massive part of that. But
Yeah,
I'm sure there are plenty of women who think, yeah, yeah, as you say, I'll just carry on, I'll just ignore all that happened. And they bury it deep and it comes back to bite you really, doesn't it?
yeah, and I think especially as women, and especially women that have been in a traumatic situation, we can often develop this, I don't really deserve that, I don't deserve that healing, I don't deserve that rest. And we've got to work on that as well, raising that sense of deserving, that sense of self-esteem, and knowing that you're worthy of rest and of healing.
Yeah, how lovely. How long, I know it's like asking how long is a piece of string, but how many sessions do you commonly do on average, would you say, with women, or is there really, it can really vary?
As you say, it is a bit how long is a piece of string. So I tend to start with a 6 week block, and then
Yeah.
sometimes it'll run into a second one, because depending on where you're at and how sort of conscious you are that that's what needs to be healed,
Mm,
it can take, 4 or 5 sessions to get to working on that.
yes.
Um, so yeah, it very much depends on the person, depends on what they've been through,
Sure.
depends on what's going on now in their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the best quotes I ever saw about working with EFT and people who've experienced trauma is we should always work at the slowest part of the nervous system. And I think
Yeah.
absolutely right. I think many practitioners, you know, we got this amazing tool. We know it can really make a difference very quickly, but sometimes people's nervous system isn't ready for those big traumatic events to be explored and tapped on, etc. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm, as you know, I'm very big on let's go slow.
Let's go slowly, absolutely. And I think sometimes their sort of conscious mind might be ready and they
Yeah,
might be saying, yeah, I want to do this. And then you kind of know from experience that that doesn't end well.
no,
That
yeah,
you've got to go gently and go slowly, because you can dive right in and it can just
yeah.
cause more problems.
When someone's had 2 weeks in bed after a session, you probably went a bit fast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
agree. And you also said you run the women's circle, so tell us more about that and how that works.
Oh, that's lovely. So I'm a hypnotherapist as well, and we meet for 2 hours. It's on a Wednesday evening, the second Wednesday of the month, and we start with a lovely guided visualization, a hypnotherapy one, which kind of just takes us to lovely places. And then so we start with a check-in really, and then we do that. And so if anything comes out in the check-in, I can build that into the visualization. And then we'll come back round and we talk about what came up in the visualization or anything else that's going on in life. And then kind of the second hour is all tapping. So
Mhm.
it'll be usually 2 or 3 people will be the focus.
Okay.
Um, so it'll be whoever feels like they've got something that they want to work on, but everyone will obviously tap along
Yeah.
with them and have the support of the group. Um, and it's just really lovely. It's just a beautiful group, and I keep it quite small. It's limited at 12, but I've actually had it smaller than that, and that's been really nice
Really
as
good.
well.
And is that if someone's watching this and thinks, oh, that sounds good, I'd like to join, is that open to anybody? Can they sign up? Is it a membership? How does that work?
It's open to any women, including trans women, and we just go month by month. Sorry, so you can book it on my website,
Right.
and so my pricing is all on a sliding scale for depending on your income. So that's all on my website as well.
Brilliant. And I think it's worth maybe explaining the idea that Gary Craig, the originator of EFT, brought around borrowing benefits, which I struggle always to
Yes.
say. So, do you want to talk a bit on that? Because that's really what's happening, isn't it, in your group, this idea of borrowing benefits? Do you want to speak a little bit
Yeah.
about
Absolutely. So when we tap as a group on someone's thing, so say there were a group of us now and you had something to work on and I tap with you on that, and then the rest of the group would be tapping on the same thing as you, the rest of the group would get benefits from that. So they would find that things in their own lives started to ease in quite unpredictable ways, really. It's often we find that things that we aren't working directly on can heal.
yeah,
And that's really beautiful. And I think sometimes people do worry when they're tapping on someone else's thing that it's going to give them that thing, but it
yes,
just doesn't, because we're tapping at the same time and it's clearing through. And
you're right.
I often think that's how I'm able to do this work. I think if I was a counsellor working with the same client group, I would really struggle. But
Mhm.
because I'm tapping with my clients, it doesn't ever come to rest in my own nervous system.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. And I don't know about you, Saffron, but I find, you know, I might be having a bit of a tricky week, and every client who shows up is presenting some aspect of something that's going on for me anyway.
Oh,
So
that
it's like,
happens
this
so
is
much.
fantastic. I get
Yeah,
to tap with them and clear it for myself as well.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had a client that I haven't been able to go, yeah, me too.
Yeah, absolutely. At least some part.
Some of the time, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that borrowing benefits is really valuable. It's a great low cost way of people exploring EFT as well, isn't it? And maybe your circle is a great way of people, dipping their toe into the water.
Yeah, that's kind of my intention, is that it's a bit of a taster. It's got the community sort of aspect to it. It's really good for clients that have had the 6 week block, and then
Maintains
yeah,
the
it sort
connection.
of maintains that bit of support.
Fantastic. And Saffron, you're also going out and doing group work. I think, is that in person or online or a mix of both?
It's a mix of both, yeah. So I'm sort of going to different organisations and delivering different workshops, and that's good fun.
and challenging. And you told me just before we started recording that you're doing one quite soon about women and finances.
It's like, yeah, it's actually well-being business people and finances.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, I'm going into a networking group that I attend, and I just kind of saw the need. I just kind of, because I've been going to a lot of different networking groups, and they've all got their own different sort of culture and way of being. And there was one where I'd noticed, and I think it can happen in the well-being industry, where there's a lot of, we're not in this for the money, and kind
We
of,
really, we really have to eat and pay bills too.
yeah,
There is that though, isn't
absolutely.
there? But there's definitely like, oh, but it's such lovely work. I don't feel good about charging for it, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think especially when there's people in need, and you really want to be able to help. So yeah, so I'm going in and doing some tapping with that group around understanding that if we charge and are able to keep our businesses going in that way, then we can help more people. Because I think, obviously you can do so many free sessions, but at some point you need to be able to buy food and pay the bills and things, and that
Absolutely.
can that can result in having to let go of your work and go and get a job somewhere else, and then you aren't helping anyone.
You're 100% right. And yes, this is one of my pet subjects actually. But,
Yeah,
and the other thing as well, I think there's something very empowering to go and see a practitioner and pay them money for your own self-care, for your own well-being. That's
yeah,
empowering, isn't it? That's a great feeling to think I've earned this money. I'm going to go and pay for a massage, a reflexology, some EFT, whatever it is.
yeah, absolutely. And I remember having an experience where I'd paid someone like what to me at the time was quite a large amount for some sessions, and I got so much more benefit from those sessions than from anything that I'd had for free. And I don't think that you can trick your mind into treating the sessions the same if you haven't paid for them, and if you have paid for them, I
Yeah.
think you get what you pay for, even though, like, as a practitioner, I'll be providing exactly the same to someone that I'm delivering a free session for and someone that's paid like £150 for a session. They're gonna get the benefit of, and they're going to get the benefit according to what they've paid, because
Yeah.
it's their mind knows that, and their mind puts
Yeah.
that. I can't really explain that very well, but
No,
yeah,
I know
is
what you
that.
mean. And that's so true. Over the years, I've given away free sessions as kind of raffle prizes, and
Yes,
rates and things like that. And almost never has anybody actually used the voucher.
yeah, that I've done the same. Yeah,
It's so interesting. And
it
it's like,
is.
oh yeah, I don't know about this. Oh, well, it was free. It doesn't matter. I'll throw it in the bin. It's,
Yeah,
it's really fascinating, isn't it? So yeah,
it is.
but
It
I
is.
do tell my practitioners, please don't do free. Do low
Yeah,
cost if you must, but do free.
yeah.
Very good. Saffron, is there anything else you'd like to add? Are there any, I know obviously client confidentiality is a big thing, but is there anything you can tell us in confidential terms about anyone you've worked with, which has been kind of, where you had a bit of a miracle breakthrough?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I think seeing when you sort of see people get into the big stuff, and just the freedom on the other side of it. Of course, yeah, it's difficult to be specific in terms of client confidentiality, but I think and it's often so unexpected, the things that people go on and do afterwards, and really like achieve so much more, and they have all this energy, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know, it's amazing. I think as practitioners, sometimes we think, well, it'd be really lovely if we could get them to this place. And so often they go way beyond that and somewhere
Yes.
we would never have thought of as a practitioner, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And it always feels really important to me to remember that I don't know the answer, because
No.
sometimes you can get quite frustrated thinking, well, clearly this, and then they'll
Yeah.
come back the next week and it's this.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me as well, I think one of the toughest things as a practitioner is to keep ourselves out of the way. We're
Yeah,
non-judgmental, we're a blank slate, we're facilitating the EFT, but the client's doing the work, aren't they?
yeah, they are. Yeah, absolutely.
And that in itself, how empowering is that?
Yeah, it is. And that's what I love about EFT, is that it's so much. I mean, I don't want to say so much more empowering than anything else, but it is very empowering in that you can take it away and use it yourself in between, and yeah, you're the one that's doing the work.
We're definitely singing from the same page here, aren't we?
Yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
So, Saffron, all of your contact details, if anyone wants to get hold of you and contact you, maybe join your women's circle, which sounds lovely. All of those are below. So thank you so much for all of those. Thank you for your time today. It's been
Thank
fantastic
you.
speaking to you, and keep doing the amazing work. It's
You too. Thank you so much. This has been lovely.
my pleasure. Great to see you. Thank you.